Today is yoga for anxiety. We are working with the theme of tapas. Discipline. So as you start to come down on your mat, land on your back, start to land in the room. And I'm going to just talk for a little bit about discipline. Discipline can be taken to the extreme. So when we think about discipline, we're going to try to think about the discipline to do what makes us have a more comfortable existence without increasing stress. So remembering to be kind to ourselves when we fall off the discipline trail. So we all know we feel better when we don't eat a whole chocolate cake, but sometimes we eat a whole chocolate cake. So these things, when we think about these teachings, they're just gentle guides for helping us live a more comfortable human existence. And we don't have to beat ourselves up about it. We all make mistakes, we all stumble, we fall. And the process is learning to pick yourself up, learning to move a little more quickly when you stumble, learning to recognize when you stumble. Sometimes that's a big feat in itself. So trying not to think about discipline being this big, huge, encumbering concept. We're going to try and think about it being the discipline to come to your mat, knowing you should come to your mat when you should come to your mat because it makes you feel better. Tapas is also described as fire, burning heat. So we can use fire and heat and that heat sensation in our practice to help us burn up what's no longer needed. And this can be especially helpful for anxious feelings. So we can burn up, get rid of some of this excessive energy in our body. We can think about it that way. So tapas, burning heat, getting rid of, burning up, getting rid of what we no longer need. So that's kind of what we're going to focus on today. We're going to focus on generating some body heat so that we can get rid of some excessive energy in the body. So you're on your back, landing in the room, starting to really be in the present moment. Letting go of what has yet to come. Letting go of what has already been. So what is here right now? Can you feel your feet on the ground, your hips on the ground, your shoulders? Start to wiggle around. See if you can get a little heavier, land a little heavier on the ground. Can you find your breath in your body? And what is your breath naturally doing? Do you have any tension around the breathing muscles? Maybe you have some tension up in your chest. Maybe you have some tension in around your throat. Have you checked your throat? How do you feel in your throat? And notice any places that your breath seems to be naturally pausing. Or you're taking long, slow breath in and then pausing and holding all that breath in. Notice if that's your natural pattern. Especially if you have a lot of anxious feelings. Notice if you are breathing in, drawing a lot of energy into your body and then holding it there. And see if you can start to just gently breathe in fully. Breathe out fully. So breathe in fully, no pause. Breathe out fully. And then if you want to add a gentle pause, maybe experiencing a gentle pause at the end of the breath when there's no excess energy in the body, when you just have a little bit less in the body. So breathing in, breathing out nice and slow, and see if you can get all the breath out of the body, and then maybe a gentle pause. And then see if you can keep this breath practice throughout practice. Breathing in, breathing out, and then a gentle pause. Just experiencing it as we move and breathe. We're going to bring the knees in towards the chest. Give ourselves a little hug. Maybe rock it. Now we're going to take our feet up to the ceiling and squeeze our toes open, spread our toes wide. And then start to take really slow ankle circles. So really slow circles with the feet, as if you're trying to discover every way your foot can move. Then go back in the other direction. And then we're going to take our feet up to the ceiling and we're going to squeeze our toes, pigeon-toed in and then out, in and out. So pigeon-toed and then neutral, pigeon-toed, neutral. Squeezing the feet. Now you're going to start to feel the muscles of your legs as well. Notice if your back starts to do any work, just press your hips a little bit down into the ground to stabilize your hips on the ground. And try to keep this all in the leg. And then bring your feet neutral, and we're going to take our legs out and neutral, out and neutral. Don't forget to breathe. Well, we're going to generate some heat in the core area, so keys. We want to keep all the heat in the torso. So press the hips down into the ground. Press the rib cage down into the ground. This should already fire up some of the deeper stomach muscles, core muscles. And we're going to really focus on keeping this in the front, not in the back. So pay attention. If your back starts to do all the work, you're going to not lower your foot so low to the ground. We're going to move with the breath, and we really want to bring the heat into the stomach. Notice if it starts to come to the face. Just follow your breath. Inhale as you lower right leg towards the ground. Exhale as you bring it back up. Inhale as you lower left. Exhale as you bring it back up. Trying to keep all the focus in the stomach. Try maybe even bringing your hands here to remind yourself to move with your breath and keep the heat in your stomach. And then bring your knees in. Give yourself a little hug. And work with the core a little more. So bring the knees above the hips. Again, pressing the hips down with the muscles of the stomach. Feet even with the knees. And we're going to bring our hands under our thighs. So really fire up the stomach so you're nice and stable. Inhale, open one side. So arm long, leg long. Exhale, bring it back together. Inhale, open the other side. Exhale, bring it back together. So keep this movement really tiny if you struggle with not using your back. So keep it really small. Just push the leg, open the arm. And then start to make it bigger as you get stronger in the core. Move with your breath. Try to stay really stable on the ground. Really using these deeper core muscles. And you're also firing up your leg. You're using the muscles of your leg. You're not just throwing the limb in space. And as you get used to the movement, the discipline of this practice is to stay in the movement. Even as you start to get a little distracted, returning to what we're doing, physically paying attention, not just walking off your mat with your mind and just flopping in space with the body. Bring your knees in, give yourself a little hug. And then roll on over to a side and come on up to a tabletop position. We're going to move and breathe in tabletop. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale towards a child's pose shape. Starting to make it your practice, moving in whatever way feels right for your body today. And remembering maybe adding that gentle pause at the end of your exhale. And then slowly make your way all the way down to crocodile pose. So down on our stomachs, one hand on top of the other, forehead down. Shimmy the hips, loosen and soften. Release into the ground. We're going to work on the core muscles on the back. So deep core muscles, but start to fire up the back muscles. So press the tops of the feet into the ground. Squeeze the glutes. See how many muscles you can connect to without moving the body up off the ground. So pressing the tops of the feet into the ground. Maybe pressing the tops of the thighs into the ground. See if you can squeeze the muscles of your back. See what you can find without moving, and then release. And we're going to practice connecting with different muscle groups. So squeeze the glutes really, 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 really hard, and try not to squeeze the legs too much at all. So squeeze them really, 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 really tight. And then see how much movement you have in your back. So move around just a little, lifting up, squeezing the glutes really, really tight. And then let go. And then squeeze the glutes just a little bit and squeeze the lower legs. So pressing the tops of the feet into the ground. Squeeze the glutes just a little bit. Now see if you can squeeze the back and lift the shoulders. See if you feel like you have a little less pinchy sensation in your back, a little less, a little more space. Lifting the shoulders. And then lower down. And then we're going to try and use all of the muscles evenly on our back. So not over squeezing legs or glutes or the back. Everything kind of evenly. And we're going to try and lift and lengthen. So inhale, lift the shoulders, maybe the feet too. Exhale, lower. Starting to find the muscles of the back and thinking about getting longer from the crown of the head to the tips of the toes. Lift and lower, move with the breath. Maybe adding in that gentle pause and maybe even starting to lift the hands. This time we're going to lift the hands back towards the hips if you're going to lift the hands today. So really lifting, lengthening, opening, and pulling the arms backwards too. Lift and hover to a point where you feel strong. Hands can remain down. Hold here. Hold where you can hold a steady breath. Fire up the muscles of the back. See if you can find some more. We're going to take little twists in this movement. So inhale is center. Exhale is bring a shoulder towards a hip. Inhale center. Exhale shoulder towards the hip. Hands can remain on the ground. You're trying to find the muscles in between the rib cage and the hip. Breathe. Build some heat. Try not to forget those leg muscles. Fire up the glutes. Fire up the back. Everything even. Soften the face. Soften the breath. And then bring it down to crocodile pose. Shimmy the hips. take the feet up to the ceiling and side sway the legs. Slow, gentle. And let the legs come down and take a deep, deep, deep breath in. Sigh everything out of the mouth. Maybe 2 or 3 times. Really letting go. Getting rid of what's no longer needed. And then slowly make your way back to child's pose. We're going to move into the shoulders, generate some heat in the shoulders. So we'll start small. We're going to go back to child's pose and then come forward, little baby push-up. So slow back, little baby push-up. Inhale, little baby push-up. Exhale, slow back. Come forward and hold and pulse. So things to pay attention for, not buckling in the shoulders. Hold nice and strong. Little pulses here. Elbows come down towards the ground. Make the movement as small as you feel strong. Little tiny, tiny pulses. The more you slow it down and restrict the movement, the harder your muscles have to work. Take it back, child's pose. Take a reset. Find your breath. And then we're going to change our shoulder shape. So bring your hands a little bit wider, perhaps even mat width apart. You're going to take your elbows out to the side this time. Little pulses here. So try to remain engaged so you're pulling up out of the ground. This is me just hanging out my shoulder joints. This is me pulling up out of the ground nice and strong. So as if I'm pulling my sternum towards my spine, pulling my chest towards my spine, and my stomach is engaged also. If you want to feel super strong, you can practice tucking your toes or practice pushing your knees down into the ground. So not actually ramming your knees into the ground, but the idea of pushing energy through your knees fires up the glutes and stabilizes your back half. So hands wide, nice and strong, little pulses. Breathe. Breathe, soft face. Take it back, child's pose. Reset. And then set up triangle. So index fingers and thumbs touch, little triangle, and we're going to come forward. So the closer you bring your hands to your knees, the more weight you can take onto your arms. So bring it to where you feel strong. Hold here, set up your base first. So pull your stomach up, out. Pull your chest, stomach up so you're nice and strong, not hanging out in joints. Bend the elbows, little pulses. Begin here, and then if you're ready, maybe you tuck the toes, hover the knees. Or maybe you step back to a full plank. Little pulses. Breathe. Wherever you're at, lower the knees. Take a child's pose. And then make your way to down dog, warming up your down dog in whatever way feels right for you. Moving your hips left and right, pedaling out your legs. Warm up your down dog shape. And then settle in, finding your world upside down. Maybe think, without thinking about the thoughts, but a visual of the thoughts that bother you. Coming to the crown of the head and falling out, falling towards the ground, letting go. Nice and strong in the arms. We're gonna bend the knees a little and pull the heels up out of the ground. Come to the balls of the feet. Maybe step the feet a teeny bit further forward, nice and slow. Balls of the feet. And then take the right foot, place the top of the foot down, stretch the front of the foot. So place the top of the foot down and pull the front of the foot towards you. Switch sides, so ball of the right foot comes down, left foot, top of the foot down, press, and then pull the foot towards you. Breathe. And then back to a little bit short down dog. So your down dog is a little bit shorter than you're used to. Maybe your stomach can find your thighs, bend your knees. And then we're going to practice little hops. So little soft hops up. Take little hops. Land light. Little tiny hops. Try to land lighter, lighter, lighter. And then look towards the head, step forward, forward fold. Again, letting your stomach find your thighs and hang out. Inhale as you bend the knees, rise up, arms overhead, prayer to heart as you exhale. Connecting to your breath here. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, prayer to heart. Bring your prayer to heart. And we're going to open up mountain pose. So find your feet on the ground and we're going to really play with our mountain pose. So rolling the weight around on our feet. Move around your feet. Let your knees move. Let your legs move. Feel your legs and feet. Find your hips too far forward. So really feel your hips. Find your hips too far forward. Find your hips too far backwards. And then find center point where everything feels soft. Low back feels soft, hips feel soft, everything feels soft, even on your feet. And then inhale up, exhale, prayer to heart. See if you can find soft shoulders, soft chest, soft face. See if you can find your center, and then close your eyes. So sometimes we think of discipline being the ability to make it all the way to the hardest poses. And I challenge you that sometimes the hardest poses are the simplest poses. So how long can you stay on your mat without your mind wandering in this pose, just feeling all the little micro adjustments that happen as you stand on your own 2 feet? Feeling your breath move in and out of your body. Maybe you can begin to feel a little softer in the shoulders, or maybe as you jump off the mat in your head, you start to feel tighter in your shoulders. Bring a little more softness to the glutes and the low back, the ankles and the knees, and breathe. I am here now. I am here now. We're going to interlace our fingers except the index fingers. We're going to push our index fingers up overhead. Once we get here, pull your arms back down. So pushing the fingers up, pulling your arms back down, you should start to feel really strong in the shoulders. So this pushing and pulling, strong in the shoulders. Notice what else has happened. So you can keep your eyes closed and challenge yourself here, or maybe float the eyes open. We are going to start to look in at the low back. Notice if you're still soft in the low back or if you've started to squeeze the low back or the glutes. Try to remain soft. We're just activating shoulders right now. Press, press, press up. Strong arms and shoulders. Watch for cranking on the neck. Try to keep the neck neutral. And we're going to take our index fingers up, 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 and then over to the right, slow as we can. So we're starting to open up left side body. Once you point your fingers, get over here, push the hips a little bit left. So really, really, really thinking about lengthening that left side body. And you can bend the knees if that feels better on your knees. Get a little more strength in the legs. Breathe and hold. Bring it back to neutral. Bring your fingers back down, prayer to heart. Hold here for a moment. Take a minute to find your soft mountain pose. Maybe even close your eyes and really center. Feel your hands on your chest, your feet on the ground, your toes not gripping. Your hips soft, your low back soft, and soften the chest and shoulders. And this time when we interlace our fingers, interlace them the opposite way, keeping index fingers up. And then we're going to press our index fingers up, 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 up. Start to press the fingers up and then pull the arms back down, getting strong through the shoulders. Watch for tension in the neck, in the face, low back, glutes. Press the arms up, press the fingers up, and then tilt to the left. Pushing the fingers up and over, not over, up and over, lengthening right side body. Breathe. And then press the hips a little bit over to the right. Lengthen, 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 lengthen. Breathe. And bring it back to neutral. Prayer to heart. Center and focus. Find your mountain pose. Challenge to stay in your practice. We're going to move and breathe if you like the challenge of keeping your eyes closed for this next set. We're going to move with our breath in some familiar patterns that we do often. So beginning with inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, prayer to heart. And then making it a little bigger, exhale, prayer to heart, sink the hips a little to a baby chair. Inhale, lift and lengthen, maybe even lifting the heels off the ground. So exhale, sink to chair. Inhale, lift, peel the heels, up. Challenge your balance with your eyes closed. So heels do not need to lift really, really high. They can lift a little bit off the ground. Things to watch for, keep your balance in your core muscles, those muscles we were firing up before. I want to imagine you're pulling your hip bones towards each other and then your whole stomach back towards the spine. That will help you feel grounded. And also not locking the knees. So when you come up, don't lock the knees and push the hips forward. Throws off our balance. So inhale, up, lengthen. Exhale, lower, nice and slow as you can go. Challenging yourself to engage and find as many muscles as you possibly can in your body. And making the movement smaller so you can challenge yourself to maybe keep your eyes closed. Bring it down to a baby chair. Challenge to keep the heels lifted. So heels slightly off the ground, baby chair shape. Engage. Challenge to keep the eyes closed. Feel all the wobbles. Whew. And then bring the eyes open and find something that's not moving. We're going to start to feel like we're locking the stabilizer muscles in our legs. So imagine you're squeezing your knees together as if there's a block between your knees and you're squeezing them together and you're pulling them apart at the same time. See if you can find those stabilizer muscles. Really press down through the balls of the feet and then pull up through the spine. We're going to move the knees in and out. So inhale, open, exhale, squeeze in, nice and slow. Trying to find the muscles of our legs. Trying to stay stable. If you're struggling with your balance, your arms can come out to help and assist. Bring the knees in, slowly lower the heels, come on up to mountain pose, close the eyes, recenter. Check in. What are your hips doing? Did you engage and push the hips forward? Did you squeeze the glutes? What are your natural holding patterns? Find a comfortable, soft mountain pose. Center and refocus, soften the face. We're going to take a giant step wide and come to goddess pose. So soften the eyes open and come to goddess pose. We're going to start small, so not your lowest goddess pose. Find the one you can hold nice and strong. Starting here. We're going to peel one heel up at a time. So when we're peeling one heel up at a time, we're trying to keep the hips stable. So the hips are not moving, just the legs. Challenge to keep the hips stable. Peeling one heel up at a time, slow and with control. And then maybe lifting and lowering both at the same time. Slow and with control. And then lift and hold and close the eyes. Challenge your balance. Breathe. Find your center. Build some heat in the legs. Maybe lower the hips a little more. Build some heat. And then lower the heels. Bring your feet up to star and give them a shake. Bring your legs up to star. Give your legs a shake. Bring your feet back, pointed out, goddess pose, sink the hips, hands at prayer. So begin with hands at prayer, find a nice steady base. So legs are nice and strong. See if you can squeeze inner thighs and squeeze outer thighs a little more. So glutes are active, but not the only thing active. So one of the things the glutes do is they pull so hard that they pull into the lower back and they do too much of the work and some of the other muscles are not getting the benefit of the pose. So engage but don't over engage. Find your goddess pose you can hold. See if you have the strength to stay here a little bit longer. Build up some heat in the legs. And we're going to hold here, trying to keep our hips and our base nice and steady. We're going to scoop behind us. So inhale, center, exhale, scoop and twist. Inhale, center, exhale, scoop. So we're really trying to find muscles in the core, in between the hip and the rib. Move with your breath. Legs strong, build some fire. Build some heat in the legs. Bring it over to the right. Press the right hand behind the hips and then pulse here. Pulse here. like a little teapot. You can even bring your hand and between the rib cage and the hip to remind yourself to use these muscles to stabilize the movement. And then bring the hand in front of the thigh, press. Press. Switch sides, back to neutral, left hand behind the leg, pulse. Legs should be burning. Build some heat. Front of the thigh, press. And then bring yourself up, star pose. Shake out the legs. Let them loosen and soften. Really shake the leg muscles. We're going to take it left to right. So, feet at an angle the knee is comfortable. Find that angle for you. So you want to know where your strength is, where you can bend one knee and bring some weight onto it. We're going to bring our hands to prayer or to our hips. And we're going to bend one knee at a time, center, and then bend the other. So we're starting to move left and right, taking the weight onto the legs. And as you start to move, maybe you can start to peel your legs out a little wider and start to open up inner thigh. So, not locking the knee, not yanking on the ankle, moving freely with your movement and your muscles, finding your own strength. Building a little more heat in the legs in a little bit different way. Breathe. Then bring it up. Star legs. Turn your right foot out. Find a triangle shape. So your legs are in triangle now. Pull up first. So really pull up out of the ground. Legs strong. Knees not locked. Get longer, 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 longer. Really long, strong legs. So legs are not moving. They're really, really tight and strong. Press the right arm away from you. We're going to come on down towards a triangle. So not triangle like you see in the pictures, but a floating triangle. Towards a triangle, we want to be nice and strong. We're building heat. So legs are firing up. Lots of heat in our legs. Lots of heat in the core. Hold here. Breathe, and we're going to little pulse. So pulse the hand away from you. We're really moving through the rib cage. We're using the hand as a guide. So you're moving the rib cage back and forth, trying to find these muscles in between rib cage and hip. Breathe. Don't lock the knees. Find energy in the legs. Strong, strong, strong legs. Look at the right hand. Holding up, still floating. We're going to take the left hand and bring it towards the right. And then we're going to bring the right out. So twist your triangle nice and slow. We're going to move nice and slow. Maybe the right hand lands on the hip. Left hand reaches. Watch for tension in the neck. Breathe. Slowly back. Unwind. Slow open. So all this movement should be felt in the legs, not in the sacrum. Move from the legs. Bring it up, reverse triangle. Slowly switch sides, so hands to hips. Turn right foot in, left foot out. Find your base first. So legs strong, pulling up. We're not just flopping in. There's a lot of flopping that happens where we let this femur, the bone in our thigh, hang out in the hip joint, and we kind of roll on over the bone a little bit. Active, strong legs first. We're using our muscles. We're trying to generate heat. Really, really, really trying to build some fire in the legs first. And then get long in the torso. Left hand out, and we're going to float our triangle, building heat. Press the left hand further and further and further away from you. Find the muscles in the core to stabilize you. This one's in between the hip and the rib cage. Obliques, find them, breathe. And then little pulses, pulse the rib cage away from you. Build some heat. Breathe. Strong legs, build some fire. So you want to feel like you're ripping your legs apart without letting them move. You're really trying to tear your mat open. Breathe, strong. Hold, push away. Bring the right hand to meet the left, nice and slow, moving with the thigh muscles, not from the sacrum. And then right hand replaces left, left comes to hip. Twisted triangle, breathe and hold. Watch for tension at the neck. Strong, 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 strong. Build fire. Left hand back to right. Slow, open up. Slow, 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 slow. And then reverse your triangle. Breathe. And bring it back to star. Feet out, heels in, toes out, and give it a shake. Loosen up, soften. Slowly wiggle your feet back in to hip width apart. And we're just going to peel our heels up and down, roll back, moving through our feet, nice and soft. Challenge today, if you have a block, we're going to do a balancing on our balls of our feet with our block. So placing the block just above the knee joint, not on the knee. Squeeze. So squeeze and hold. Find your balance first. So hands out if you need extra help. Really squeezing the muscles around the hips first. So really bringing all your center thoughts, your balancing, grounding thoughts to in around your hips and close to the spine. And then pull the knees, bend the knees, pull the heels up. Slowly sink the hips. So we're going to sink, trying not to sink all the way down to our heels. Sink slow as you can, engaged, and hold, squeezing the block. Hold, 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 hold. And challenge your balance, holding and hovering just above the heels. Squeezing. And then without dropping the block, see if you can come all the way back up. Breathe slow, 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 slow. And then lower the heels. Release the block. Connect to your breath. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, heart to heart. Bring your prayer to heart. Start to find your balance. We're going to bring the weight onto our right leg without throwing our right hip up. Nice and strong, even hips. We're going to bring ourselves into tree pose with strength. So left heel peels up and goes onto the shin first. So shin connection. Find your foot on your shin. Press your shin into your foot and your foot into your shin. So you're not locking this right knee back by pressing into it. You're pressing two different opposing forces. So pressing, pressing, pressing. Find your strength. Pull the knee open without moving the hips. Hold strong here with that connection, pressing both ways, pulling the knee open. Find your hands of prayer, and then see if you can close your eyes. And breathe. And fall out. And start again. Breathe. And step down, switch sides. So take a little ankle circle with the right foot, back the other way. And then land on the left. Set up first. Find your balance, find your center. Right foot comes to the left shin, press. So press the foot into shin, shin into the foot, and then open the knee. Breathe and hold. And then practice closing the eyes. Breathe. And then bring your right foot down and connect to your breath. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, prayer to heart. And then this time, inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, draw your prayer all the way through center, forward fold. Find your forward fold. Let the tension out of your head, out of your neck. Let go. You're gonna either meet me all the way down in child's pose or another little challenge if you have your block. Hold on to it. Bring your feet onto the balls of your feet, knees bent, sink the hips. Slowly peel right leg out into pistol squat. So find your balance first. Send your leg out. Breathe. Switch sides. Holding on to your block to find your balance. Legs engaged. Core engaged. So you're pulling your stomach towards your spine. You're lifting your chest. Everything is engaged. Bring the weight onto the left. Lengthen. Bring the weight onto the right. Lengthen the left. Still squat. And fall out. Find your way down to your back. So make your way down onto your back. Some notes about pistol squat. Not sitting back on your heel actually helps you. So if you're working towards pistol squat, you want to find your balance not being on your heel. So once you sink onto your heel, you kind of relax a little. So you want to bring your balance into your core muscles. Squeeze your core muscles. And get that same feeling when you're trying to work towards crow. So crow, so a lot of the strength comes from the chest. So you really want to pull your focus into getting your inner core muscles, the ones that are closer to the spine, working. Everything strong and pulling up out of the ground. And that's where your balance comes from and your strength. So onto your back where we started. And notice what is different. Take your feet up to the ceiling, just experiencing your feet above your heart and moving your feet in whatever way feels good. Starting to land back in the room. Bring the soles of the feet to the ground, knees up, and take a side sway of the hips, noticing what is present in the hips. Think about all the heat that we generated in the muscles and try and give everything a little shake out, a little reset. Move, wiggle, shake a little. And then because this is a yoga for anxiety class, we're going to think about a little about anxious feelings and being tight in common places people are tight in when they have anxiety. So often people describe it as that feeling of something sitting on your chest. So I invite you to take a think about other places of the body. So whenever we have a tightness, a sensation in one part of the body, our body is not like pieces. Everything is a whole unit, and other parts of the body are affected. So today's invitation is to think about the hips. So a common thing that happens with people with anxiety is they have extremely open hips and extremely tight shoulders. So they have these kind of opposing forces. So invitation today to bring the feet wide on the ground and the knees in towards each other. So once you do this, lots of things to consider. If your feet are really close to your glutes, you might be putting some strain in your knees. Bring your feet to a comfortable position. So wiggle your feet around if you're feeling strain in your knees. If your feet are really far away, you might be pulling into the low back and the glute area. So find that place. Wiggle your feet around. Don't be afraid to move and wiggle and adjust until it feels comfortable for you. So we want to be a closed kind of a feeling in the hips. So we're kind of squishing our knees together and we're letting our hips feel a little bit closed. And we're going to warm our hands. And then we're going to place them on our hips, wherever is comfortable. So think about grounding in this space. Bringing a lot of awareness and attention through our hips. Grounding, landing. Imagine the weight of our hands is kind of pushing our hips into the ground. Feeling a sensation of landing in this space. Start to slow your breath. And then imagine somebody came along and picked up your right arm. So they picked up your right arm. So somebody else is holding your right arm above you. Your shoulder's kind of lifting a little bit, but it's not tight. You're not pushing it up. Floppy arm, nice floppy arm. See if you can have a ragdoll arm. And then you're going to lift your shoulder just a little bit and you're going to move it around a little and you're going to try and find that place with a floppy arm that your shoulder blade seems to hit the ground. So your shoulder blade in the back lands on the ground and then try and imagine just letting your arm flop by itself. So imagine you have no idea where this arm is. Somebody else is in control of it and then they're going to let it flop down and the arm is going to naturally find a position on the ground. Hopefully you found a position where your shoulder blade feels like it's really solidly on the ground. So if you did not, try again. See if you can find that place where your shoulder finds complete support. Your shoulder is on the ground. And then take a check-in. Notice if there's any tension pulling up into the neck or into the jaw. The shoulder's on the ground, so maybe there's some tightness somewhere else. Notice. Just try to breathe into this one arm, this one shoulder, being completely supported. And then as if you're going to give all the muscles that support this shoulder, all muscles in this front of the chest and on the shoulder, permission to soften and let their burden go. The shoulder is supported, let it feel the ground. Let the ground carry you. Another common sensation or experience for people with anxiety is the inability to allow others to support us. And this includes the inability to just let the ground support us. So take a moment to really give the ground permission to hold us. Give our body permission to trust that the ground is there. And even if you just get softer on one little moment, that's an achievement. And then we're going to imagine someone picked up our left arm. It's nice and floppy. Shake it around as if someone else was holding it. Try and get a floppy as you can. Obviously, you're moving your own arm. It cannot be 100% floppy. But use your imagination. Try to get floppy. Lift up the shoulder a little. And then imagine someone else is placing it down on the ground and letting it land. And we are not symmetrical. So let go of the concept that both shoulders need to be in the same place. See if you can start to land. See if the shoulder feels heavy enough. See if it feels like the whole shoulder blade found the ground. And if it does not, repeat the exercise. Let the arm move until the shoulder finds the ground. And sometimes you might have one side that's particularly tighter than the other, or maybe just because we know what we're doing on this side, it's a little harder to soften. Start to notice the muscles in your low back. Check in, see if they're still soft. See what's going on in the muscles of the neck and the jaw. See if you can soften the palms of your hands. And if you're not sure if they're soft, give your hands a squeeze into fists. Squeeze them really tight. Take a deep breath in, and with the exhale, see if you can just let them soften and flop. And when you squeeze them, notice any other places that might have gotten tight and send some fresh, soft breath to that space. Start to loosen, soften. And we're going to imagine breathing in through a center hole in our chest. Bring a cooling, fresh breath. Give it a color. So we practice bringing heat to the body throughout practice. So for this meditation, we're just going to practice bringing a little cooling into the body. And we're going to imagine we can breathe right into the center of the chest with the shoulders heavy. Notice if this brings more tightness to the muscles of the chest, and try to focus in on just bringing your awareness to letting fresh, cooling energy trickle into the center of the chest and slowly spread to those muscles that really want to clamp in and hold and grip and protect. So allow it to slowly trickle as if you were drawing in fresh energy to one cell at a time. Let it spread. So if you're very visual, maybe you can imagine a little tiny colored ball in the center of your chest. And it's slowly going to spread across your chest. Cleansing, cooling, refreshing, letting go ball of energy. And every time you feel yourself slip away from the practice, maybe you run off your mat, you go back into your thoughts. Notice your shoulders, see if they're starting to pull back up. Then begin the practice again, slowly allowing the shoulders to land on the ground, and then bringing your focus back into softening from the center of the chest. If you have the time to practice, if you have the time to take practicing, spending time drawing your focus into allowing the shoulders to become heavy and the chest to slowly soften open, please take as much time as you need. And remember that the practice, the purpose is not to get it perfect. The practice is the practice. The practice of noticing when you stumble, noticing when you jump off the mat and go back into your thoughts, get tense. It's not about getting it perfect. It's So the discipline to be kind to yourself when you stumble, the discipline to start over, the discipline to give yourself some compassion and patience and kindness. If you were teaching a 2-year-old to a toddler to walk, you wouldn't expect them to stand up and walk perfectly. You would hold their hand and allow them to take their wobbling steps over and over and over again, as many times as it takes, until they start to get a little more stable, piece by piece by piece. Imagine your practice in this way. Imagine giving yourself this kind of kindness, holding your own hand as you stumble and wobble, holding your own hand and supporting yourself as you pick yourself up and start over and over and over again. If you're finishing up at the 60-minute mark, begin to bring gentle movements to your fingers and toes and slowly curl up in a ball on whatever side is calling to you. Curling up in the fetal position, taking a moment to feel the sensation of being protected and comforted. Landing on the ground. So we did a lot of chest opening focus, so a little bit of closing in and comfort. Feel as if you're getting a little bit of a hug. And then slowly bring yourself to a seated position. Bring your hands to prayer at heart space. Honor yourself in your journey, wherever you're at. Send a little gratitude and compassion to your whole self. And then send out some gratitude and compassion into our community. May all beings be peaceful and at ease. Thank you for joining us.